Hello and welcome! So my question for you today is, what do we get when we mix sci-fi and pirates? Treasure Planet. Treasure Planet was released in 2002, so this is the most recent out of these films, and it is one of the last 2D animated films that Disney did. The really interesting thing that I do appreciate with it is that you can tell that there's a mix between the 2D animation and the 3D CGI that is present in a lot of the backgrounds of this film, but doesn't take center place. And I really appreciate this art style. I think that they should be able to incorporate this aesthetic looking art style into a lot more of the recent pictures. I love that they are using the CGI as a supplemental portion instead of just completely CGI 3D animation all the way, which they've fallen into. But that's just a side note that I wanted to point out because I really do like the art style and I like how it works really well.
For every single one of those drawings, and it's 24 per second, he has to draw the character in place, interacting with the environment, and when it's done well, it's amazing. The next thing that we do is we flesh out the background a lot more. We add more detail to it, more moss, more canopies, more areas of the jungle that the character isn't interacting with that weren't as important before, just to create a greater sense of environment.
It is exactly the same plot line as Treasure Island. It is based off of that source material, so it's exactly the same plot, except it's a mix of sci-fi and pirates. It's this weird steampunk version of Treasure Island that everything is all aliens and cyborgs, and instead of Long John Silver having a one leg, he is a cyborg. So he's more futuristic. And Jim Hawkins is your typical late 90s punk of a boy who has lost something. So in this case, his father has left and his father just ran off to live his life as a pirate. So he just abandoned his family, and Jim was highly affected by that. So now he's just a huge troublemaker, and it's his own little coming of age story where he has to make a sacrifice, learn how to be a better person and not be as selfish, and then he'll be happy. But it didn't really work for me because of the fact that this is such a stereotypical archetype of character that it's overdone, and he's just an annoying punk to me. He doesn't really have a lot of redeeming qualities. It just screams late 90s bad boy wannabe.
Mrs. Hawkins.
Jim!
Ooh, wrong turn.
Okay, thanks for the lift, guys.
Not so fast. We apprehended your son operating a solar vehicle in a restricted area. Moving violation 904, section 15, paragraph...
6.
Thank you.
Don't mention it.
Jim.
As you are aware, ma'am, this constitutes a violation of his probation.
Yes. No, I understand.
They changed things up a little bit with the characters, so you have this family B story in the background where the mother is a hardworking mother, but she's single and she is trying to keep the house together, and Jim is just, again, not caring on his surfboard that is late 90s extravaganza all over it, extra, and he just is a punk. And she doesn't know how to handle him. And her friend's a doctor who ends up going along on this journey with him, and same thing, they end up finding a treasure map, and instead of an island, it's a planet because it's sci-fi and we're making it different. Right. They end up going on board and traveling to Treasure Planet with the same exact crew where half of them are good, half of them are bad. The difference is the captain is a female. And I like that. I mean, it's nice to see a lot more of the strong female archetype characters because we haven't had that. So I give them credit for that. That was a really cool move to have more empowerment from the woman and show a really strong leader that's a woman, because we are seeing it more and more today, but it still has been in the background. So anytime I get to see a strong woman character, I am going to applaud it.
Mr. Hawkins, in the future you will address me as Captain or Ma'am. Is that clear? Mr. Hawkins.
Yes, ma'am.
That'll do.
Because this is a Disney cartoon, we of course have to have the animal sidekicks. So this animal sidekick is Morph.
Morph! You nigger-headed blob of mischief. So that's where you was hiding.
And personally, he is the most annoying thing. I don't think he's cute, I just think he's annoying. I don't like the direction that they went in with his plot, and I feel like he is very unneeded and doesn't really do much for me. Then we have Ben Gunn. His version of Ben Gunn is a robot who was marooned on the planet for 100 years.
Oh, this is fantastic! A carbon-based life form come to rescue me at last! I just want to hug you and squeeze you and hold you close to me.
And he lost his mind. Now, to me as I'm watching this, I know he's the comedy relief. However, he just reminded me of an older, annoying version of Olaf. I love Olaf. I mentioned before that Olaf is my favorite thing about Frozen, and Josh Gad can do no wrong. The difference here is that Ben is very similar to Olaf's personality, where he's like, oh, I want to hug you all over and love you, and it's very sweet, but it just comes up very extra and over the top, and it doesn't work for his character. Jordan, oh my gosh, I did not know that. No, I feel bad now. Okay, so this is what happens when I don't pay attention to the voice actors and I just think that it's not really a well-known cast, and I'm just going to talk about the story, and then I look up the cast on my notes here, and Martin Short is Ben. I love Martin Short. I love him. I can't, I'm conflicted. He did not do well in this character. I did not like him as Ben. I love Martin Short, but now I'm so conflicted. Joseph Gordon-Levitt is Jim Hawkins, which I can see. I like him too, but I just hated the Hawkins character. I really did. Emma Thompson is the captain, Captain Amelia, and she's fantastic. We've already talked about how Emma Thompson's in a lot of films. She's in Beauty and the Beast, the remake. She's going to be in, well, she was in Saving Mr. Banks, which we're going to be watching later on in the year. So she's a very fantastic Disney veteran as well. I did not realize that this cast was this huge. Wow. It didn't work. I know that this film was a flop. It was a flop in the theaters, and it's not really known in the Disney catalog. It kind of fell behind, and a lot of people believe that's underrated, but I can understand why it didn't do well. They had some really cool ideas with it. The fact that they wanted to bring more futuristic into it, especially because this was the turn of the new century and the new millennium. So I understand this whole idea of let's do alien films and let's do sci-fi because we're in the 21st century now and everything is futuristic, but it's just the same story and there's nothing great that was added to it, and there was too many of the standard archetypes that are just overdone, and there wasn't anything new about it that I really thought was great. So for me, I did not really enjoy this film. I'm glad I got to watch it again, and the cast is fantastic actors wise, but not really my cup of tea. If you like Treasure Island, I would say it'd be cool for you to check out because it is the same story but with a futuristic twist to it. Otherwise, I would say this one you can skip. Normally I like a lot of the underrated underground films, but I understand why this one didn't do well. I can see where they missed steps with it. Yeah. My favorite was Muppet Treasure Island. Muppet Treasure Island was the best of the best that I've seen out of the three. Treasure Island has been really popular with remaking these films, so I'm obviously not going to cover them all, but between these three, Muppet Treasure Island has my vote. And we're going to continue tomorrow talking about another very, very popular literary source. So you can stay tuned. And as always, I hope you have a magical day, and I will see you real soon.